Folks, what's up? MereKat, I am back on Free Money Football, joined by none other than Stevey, some guy named Steve. No Tyree today. He's out in Rochester, the 585. God bless him being out there. But for the little AEW event, so we're running a two-man show tonight. You know what the deal is. It's the midweek show. We're just going to go over the board game by game, give out our early leans, maybe if we love a game, something to hop on before the line changes this weekend, and just our feel for the overall slate this week before we lay out our official plays this weekend, because me and Stevie have been doing great in the NFL so far this year, and we want to bring you guys a little bit of that green free money too. So we started off today with Thursday Night Football. We got the Jaguars and the Bengals tomorrow night, 8:20 p.m. Right now, the Jaguars sitting at +7.5, a +265 money line. And I don't know about you, Stevie, but I kind of want to avoid this game, even though I've loved the Bengals this year.
Yeah, it almost kind of feels like a trap game to me. It's just over a touchdown. The Jaguars have looked awful this year. Their offenses showed no signs of life. And on the other side, the Bengals have kind of played above their head. They got a win on the road against Pittsburgh that a lot of people didn't think they'd get, and they won that game pretty convincingly. The defense has looked a lot better. And besides the Bears game, Burrow has looked pretty solid this year. Higgins is out, but he was out last week against the Steelers. Didn't seem to really be a problem in their passing attack. And Trevor Lawrence is just one of just the miserable rookie quarterbacks so far this year. Will the Jags turn it around? Usually Thursday night games, sometimes you see it, but you're right, MereKat. This is a game I'm not really too keen on betting. Maybe I'll do a couple player props, maybe some Jamar Chase love, because we've been pounding the table for him all year. Yeah. But in terms of the line, and I think the total is 46, it's just nothing that really jumps out to me. I would lean the Bengals just because the Jags have not shown anything to me at all this year. But you saw with the Cardinals game, they had a few fluky plays, 109-yard, missed field goal to give them the lead before halftime, and then Lawrence gave it back on a flea flicker, throwing off his back foot across the field. I mean, so bad. It was awful, but the Jags still only lost that game by 12. I mean, you can get back in garbage time, so I see why it's only 7.5, but it's very hard for me to put money on the Jags this year.
Yeah, and like we said, we both like taking the Bengals this year so far. 7.5, kind of a big number, though, because the Jags looked frisky last week. You just covered it all. Bengals are going to be a big tease candidate for me this week, I think. I'm going to be using them in a lot of, maybe 6 point, maybe even like 4 point teasers, because I like them by a field goal in this game. But laying 7, a little scary there. I never want to bet with Urban Meyer, so there's no chance I'm going to talk myself into the Jaguars. And, that rush defense in Jacksonville, they invested in it a bit. Doesn't look great, and Joe Mixon's having a pretty good year, so that's something to watch out too. They don't need to just rely on Burrow in that one. But then kicking off the Sunday slate, we have the Panthers versus the Cowboys in Jerry World. Right now, the Cowboys are 4.5-point favorites. The over-under set at 50.5. Another one where, I love the Panthers money line, honestly. I'll get into that, but I want to hear what your thoughts are on this game first, because I know you like Dallas more than me. I'm a bit biased.
Yeah, I actually kind of like Dallas a good amount here. I think having the line at 4 is trying to get people to take the Panthers, thinking maybe it can be a field goal game. And my whole thing here is just from what I watched Thursday night against the Texans, Sam Darnold was a completely different quarterback when McCaffrey was there and when McCaffrey was not in the offense. And Chuba was able to come in and, fill the role and play well, but Darnold just didn't look his best, and that was against the Texans. They've also played kind of a cupcake schedule. They did bully the Saints, but Jameis played very poorly that game. They played the Jets and the Texans. You got the Cowboys here who have played, 3 decent teams: the Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champs, the Chargers, and then the Eagles last night, or Monday night. And, when I watch the Cowboys, the thing that jumps out to me, yes, they've given up a lot of yards, but their defense is making plays on the field that I didn't really expect this year. Micah looks great, man. I mean, we got a battle right now for our futures of Defensive Rookie of the Year, MereKat.
Micah, we do. We'll get into the other guy.
Great. But, the Cowboys defense has looked pretty good, and I think I can trust them to score on this Panthers defense. Panthers defense has been great so far this year, but it really hasn't been battle-tested. The Saints, Jets, and Texans offense don't really wow me. Their defense has been elite. They're only allowing 224 yards a game. but I don't think they're going to hold the Cowboys under 300. Zeke looked really good this past week. Pollard, that split looks great. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, they just have guys. Wilson stepped up with Gallup out. He stepped up. I think the Cowboys are going to be able to win this, and it's in Jerry World too. I always like taking the Cowboys when they're home, when the line isn't outrageous, and 4 points is enough for me to justify it.
See, this is one I'm going to sit on a bit. This is going to be like a game time decision come Monday. I would think the money, might be driven towards Dallas. Just in general, the public always loves the Cowboys. That Philly game, I mean, they impressed me. It's a team I wanted to fade this year. Philly, I was all over them. And they look good. The defense behind Micah Parsons now, they finally have a linebacker who can help lead that defense and make explosive plays, but be consistent. It shows, and they scare me a bit, but I do like the Panthers. You brought up their cupcake schedule, but beating the Saints and the way, Sam Darnold-led offense performed against that defense, it was pretty impressive. Yeah. Now, McCaffrey, not great, but Chuba, everybody loves Chuba Hubbard. You want to see him in action. He looked pretty decent last week at 4.5 points. I mean, this is feeling like a classic MereKat double play incoming. 2 units on the spread, 1 on the money line. I just like the value there, but I feel like that's me being driven to continually fade Mike McCarthy, even though last week it bit me in the ass. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers have a significant advantage when it comes to head coach, but the Cowboys have shown me enough on both sides of the ball this year where I think they can overcome how bad their head coach is.
And that's my coach of the year, Matt Rule, my candidate right there. Yep. I mean, he's getting the most out of Darnold, huge QB guy. But we'll go into the next matchup, and that's going to be the Cleveland Browns at the Minnesota Vikings right now. One of my games of the week, maybe my game of the week, just to watch, to enjoy, because I think this is going to be a close one. The Browns are 2-point favorites right now, over under set at 51.5. I think this line's kind of right on the money.
Yeah, this feels like it's going to be down to the wire field goal game, and I'm glad that it's like that because the Vikings have been getting so disrespected, especially Kirk Cousins, who's having a phenomenal year, and no one's talking about him.
Yeah.
And the
MVP
Vikings
caliber season.
900-plus yards, 8 touchdowns.
No picks.
They got great weapons. Even if Dalvin Cook doesn't suit up, it showed it didn't matter against the Seahawks. Madison was able to just come in, have 100-plus rushing yards. The offense looked great. Kirk has been great throwing the ball downfield, and they got 3, in my mind, a great receiver trio. You got Jefferson, Thielen, and now KJ Osborne, who stepped up as the number 3.
Shout out UB.
Conklin is the tight end, is looking to fill that role. The Vikings have been really impressed with me, and people forget they're a 37-yard missed field goal away from being 2-1 with wins over the Seahawks and the Cardinals, who the public always loves, always thinks they're going to have a good year. The Browns, they looked good against the Chiefs in week 1, even though they kind of blew that win. And then they played the Texans and Bears. You can't really take too much from it. They shut down the Bears offense last week. The Bears had the second worst yards per play in the century against the Browns. They gave up like 60 yards. Their defense is great. But something for me tells me that everyone's going to want to bet the Browns. The Browns look good. They're kind of everyone's sleeper team this year. And I still think people are sleeping on the Vikings. I think they give the Packers a legitimate, challenge for the division. Kirk's impressed me. He's playing really, really well this year. Probably the best football I've seen him play in his career. And their defense is slowly getting better. They looked a lot better in the second half last week against the Seahawks. Kind of shut down all the deep shots that Russ wanted to take. I like the home dogs here. I think the Vikings are one of those teams that has a home field type of advantage when there's fans, and it kind of showed last week. I think it'll show again this week against the Browns.
Yep, these are 2 teams I've taken every single week this season. Like I said, it's my must-watch of the week because I think it's going to be a great game. Browns defense finally showed up last week, although it was against Fields under Matt Nagy. So I'm still a bit concerned on that front for them. And, I'm just going to have to lean with the value here. I think I'm going to end up taking the Vikings money line, but I could talk myself into the Browns in the next 10 minutes. But hopping into the next matchup, then we are looking at the matchup everybody wants to see this week.
Game of the week, baby.
To an even bigger, better game is the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Right now, the Lions plus 2.5-point underdogs, over under set at 42. This is it. This is ramping up to be an absolute barn burner that everybody's going to be laying their money on this week. I mean, Detroit, they've been frisky as all hell so far. They're 0-3, but they've been covering. They've shown some friskiness. They almost pulled some stuff off. I mean, last week the dart was on him plus 300. It takes the NFL record field goal to break it. So Lions are going to be a team I'm watching out for against the Bears, who – I always look at coaching and betting, and if it's a bad coach, I won't bet on the team. And Matt Nagy has shown himself to be completely incompetent, completely in the way he's continuing to handle the quarterback situation. We're not even sure who's going to start. It's a 3-man race right now between whoever's healthier. I mean, it's just a shit show. I think Dan Campbell's going to have those boys out there wanting to come out fast, hungry, give us more DeAndre Swift. That loss last week's got to leave a bad taste in their mouth. I'm going to be all over Detroit this week at plus money right now, about a plus 120 money line. I might place that bet after the show.
That's kind of how I feel too, MereKat. And it scares me a little bit because the Bears couldn't have looked worse than they did last week against the Browns. They couldn't have looked worse. And if we look at their schedule so far, I know it's only 3 weeks, but the Rams and Browns on the road, they weren't expected to win those games or compete in them, honestly, when you saw the spreads. But they played really well at home against the Bengals, even though their offense wasn't great, only a little bit over 200 yards. But their defense just seemed to play up when they were home. And that kind of scares me because that may even just overcome Matt Nagy just being Matt Nagy. But I also am super impressed with what the Lions have shown, especially last week against the Ravens, where, 9 times out of 10 they win that game. It's just Justin Tucker, a 66-yarder. What are you going to do? But they were able to kind of contain Lamar, take away what the Ravens wanted to do. If it wasn't even for that 4th and 19 heave that they just missed, where the Ravens got a 40-yard chunk to even get into field goal range, Lions win that game. I like the Lions here. I think they can get it done on the road. I think you're right, MereKat. Campbell is someone their players want to play for. I think Nagy's almost the opposite. I think they want him out of Chicago. He announced earlier this week, we don't know who the starter's going to be yet, between 3 guys, Dalton Fields and now Foles. I mean, come on. It's week 4 in the NFL season.
Shit show.
You have to have something going. And their offense last week looked like he wasn't even trying to call plays. Fields sacked 9 times. I think the Lions kind of get, I guess you call it an upset, but I don't really see it as one. I think the Lions are probably a better team.
Yeah, that's why this line just sticks out at me. I'm placing this as a play. Like right now, this is like, don't wait till Sunday because this might shift. I don't know, though, because Chicago is just a popular team. I'm sorry to all my Chicago friends, too. I'm not trying to be mean to your Bears. I love Justin Fields. I still do, even after last week. But that offensive line, paired with Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace running the show, I don't expect anything good to come out of them right now. And then we'll go into the next matchup where we want everything good to come out of it this weekend. It's the Houston Texans coming to Buffalo to face off against our Bills. And the spread is ridiculous with the Bills as 16.5-point favorites right now, minus 1250 on the money line. I think that's parlay fodder, and an over-under set at 47. I mean, I'll let you kick this one off because
yeah, you're the Bills guy. I'll let you talk about it, but the Bills, they looked great last week against the football team, and it was their offense that looked great. And even though they won 35-0 the week before against Miami, there were still some concerns about the offense explosiveness. We saw no concerns last week against the football team. And MereKat, I think you can agree with me here. The defense is playing better than even I think you expected. The defense has been balling out, and now you get the Texans with a backup QB coming into this stadium, this atmosphere. I love the Bills, and I think the line is set so high because they want people to just try to take the Texans, thinking, that's too many points. They could get backdoored. That's 3+ touchdowns for a backdoor. I think the Bills can just run away with this from the start. And I don't say it's biased, Buffalo, Trainwreck. It's the Texans. The Texans haven't really shown me anything. Yeah, they beat the Jaguars, but who cares? I think the Bills run them out of the stadium.
Yeah, this is one of those lines where, as a guy who wants to bet on the Bills every week, 16.5 scares you. I feel like you're right, trying to draw people in to bet on the Texans because they've been frisky this year. They've covered games, but Mills Mafia, I don't think it stands up to Bills Mafia. We just spent an hour on the Crowd Assist podcast with Matt Weston, Texans guy, and he predicted the Bills 40-10, I believe, was his prediction. I mean, nobody believes in these Texans right now. The injuries they have, you look at some of their numbers on offense. We were talking about it. It's mind-blowing. Outside of Brandon Cooks, who most underrated receiver in the NFL, he's still doing it.
Somehow.
Outside of him, no one on that offense has more than 10 targets, not even catches. Like, their offense is enough. The running back room is Mark Ingram, who's got like 150 yards through 3 games. And then next is Phillip Lindsay with 20 rushes for 30 yards. It's like a Trent Richardson game stat line from 2000.
Without the touchdowns.
yeah. It's just like their offense is completely inept, even though, their bookends at tackle are pretty good. So I'm not expecting the Bills to have another, Miami-type pass rushing game. But I think this is another game. Josh Allen is a confident guy coming off of last week, AFC Player of the Week. He's going to want to keep that rolling. He's going to want, to get these guys their numbers too. I feel like that's a thing with Allen. In a game like this, he's going to take an opportunity. He's going to be feeding Stephon Diggs and such, boosting his guys' numbers along with his own. I think the Bills blow them out. I'm going to probably make it an official play. Bills minus 16.5. And I kind of like the over, even though I don't bet totals, so that you didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I kind of like the over too. The Bills' offense really showed it was clicking, and I think it could be, a situation where they get up so big that it's just soft coverage. Give the Texans maybe a few scores at the end of the game.
Texans, and plus, let's be real. This Bills team isn't perfect right now. We're sloppy. We're fucking up. I mean, there's going to be a special teams error. There's going to be a fumble. There's going to be something that's going to result in points for the other team. I think it's just inevitable, even if you're facing a bad team. But we'll move on from our Bills to a matchup. I have a play I absolutely love already. I think you know what it is. We're going to the Colts, heading down to Miami to face Jacoby Brissett and the Dolphins. Right now, the Dolphins are favorites, minus 1.5. Money line's kind of even. Colts plus 105, Dolphins minus 127, and another low total at over under 42.5. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. Colts money line for me is a lock.
I was just going to say, MereKat, can you please explain to me why the Dolphins are favored in this game? I don't get it.
Because the Colts are 0-3. That's all the people see the 0-3, and they don't put any context into it. The average better. They're like, this team sucks. The Dolphins are frisky. People, Tua sucks. It's just like Tua's not even, it's just.
But here's the thing is, like, everything going into the offseason, the big reason why people thought the Dolphins could be a potential wildcard team is their defense. And their defense has been bad so far this year. Averaging over 400 yards per game they're allowing, and the Colts have played 3 really tough games. They played against the Seahawks at home, the Rams at home, and they went on the road to Tennessee. They didn't look great in any of those games, but they didn't look awful in any of them. The Dolphins really, I mean, if it wasn't for a 4th and goal where Brissett runs it in, they don't even cover against the Raiders. They looked embarrassing against the Bills, and the only reason they beat the Patriots is because of 2 key fumbles by the Patriots. Otherwise, that's not a game. The Dolphins, in my mind, just haven't shown me anything, and I'm just not going to ever bet on Jacoby Brissett as a favorite. I just don't know why you would do that. I'm not a huge Colts fan. You heard me all offseason. I was down on this team. I said this is the Titans division, and then it's just 3 teams I don't really think have a chance to win the division. I'm not a Colts guy, but the Colts have the best unit in this game with their defense. They have the better quarterback, even though I don't love Wentz, and they have a better offense. Michael Pittman, too, has looked great in the past 2 weeks. 24 targets in 2 weeks. He's doing good volume with that too. He's getting open. He's a legitimate number 1. I don't think the Dolphins defense can stop the Colts to the points where they're going to win. It feels like a low-scoring game to me, but I don't understand how the Dolphins are favored in this.
Yeah, and Frank Reich's too good of a coach to let this Colts team fall to 0-4, not take advantage of a softy opponent right now and get their first win. The defense has been down, but you've played 3 good offenses, and me and you disagree on the Titans-Colts thing. I'm still not even counting the Colts out of this division after an 0-3 start. I thought they needed to steal one of those games, but they are where they are, and they got to take advantage of these games. I'm looking for that defense to come back to form against Jacoby Brissett and this Dolphins offense. They need that confidence boot. Get Darius Leonard going. Get these guys running out of the backfield in this game. And it's a get your team right type of game for the Colts. I'm locking it down with them as underdogs in this one, and then the Chiefs Eagles. I don't even want to talk about this game. You know me, me and you both want to bet the Eagles every week, right? And now they're +7 against the Chiefs at home. Over under set of 54.5, one of the higher ones we're seeing this week. Honestly, I'm not touching it. I'm going to want to take that many points for the Eagles, but I think the Chiefs cover that. People are way too down on the Chiefs just because of their record. Another team like the Colts, you see 1-2, you're like, oh, the Chiefs are washed out. So there have been so many unlucky things going against them this year. I hate to admit it, but like 2 of Patrick Mahomes' interceptions aren't his fault. They're pure luck plays, tips, things like miraculous things, and it's just the Chiefs are a good team. I know their run game, not great, but you got Patrick Mahomes. You got a good offensive line. You got good receivers with Andy Reid. They should be able to outshoot anybody, even with their defensive struggles here and there, especially in the secondary. But I'm not seeing, Jalen Hurts looked rough, moving the ball. I kind of blame Nick Sirianni more than anything. The play calling was insane in that game. Absolutely insane play calling by the Eagles all game. Never in a position to win or succeed. And I hate to do it, but I'm probably going to fade them this week. It might just be a whatever game for me. Hopefully the Eagles come back and not touch it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there too, MereKat. One thing I will say is the Chiefs' last 13 games, 11-1 against the spread. And if you heard me last week, I brought up that the Chargers were one of my locks at +7.5, and Ty called it the rat trap. And I go, listen, like the Chargers are good enough to play him. Now it kind of feels like it's a rat trap the other way, where the Eagles +7 is where people are going to be like, oh, the Chiefs, they really don't blow out anyone. I think this is the get right week for the Chiefs. The Chiefs for the past 2.5 years have been told how good they are for the past 2.5 years. Mahomes, no one has a problem with him. And he's getting a little too cute with some of his no-look passes, some of his decisions, and it burned them. They're also a fumble from Clyde away from being 2-1 with a win over the Ravens that kind of changes the whole outlook of everything. And the Chargers, you and I both agree, are a very good team. They gave the Chiefs a good division battle, which we both expected. The Eagles, it didn't look great this past Monday night. Hurts, we both love him, but he's raw. He will make some wow plays, some wow throws, but he will also make some decisions. It's like, why did you throw that ball? Or what were you thinking there? And that's just a learning curve he's going to have to adjust to as the NFL season goes on. I think this is a big bounce back week for the Chiefs. I don't think there's anyone in the Eagles secondary who can really limit Tyreek, who has been quiet the past 2 weeks. I expect a monster bounce back game for him, Mahomes, and I think the Chiefs go into Philly, normally a tough place to play, and they win pretty convincingly, showing everyone, hey, we're still the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, we pretty much agree there. I'm tempted to bet the Eagles just because I love them, but this is the bounce back for the Chiefs where they win by 28, and it's like, all right, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And then we got another game up next. This one's gross. I can tell you right now, I'm not touching this game at all. We have the Giants heading to New Orleans to play the Saints. Saints favored by 7.5 here. Real low over under at 42. I mean, I love Jameis. I love Jameis. We've had so much fun watching him play. He's shown he's a viable quarterback in this league. But I don't know what we're going to get out of him. And I know what we're going to get out of Danny Dimes, essentially. And it's going to be some big plays here and there with a lot of turnovers and bad decisions. So this is my, my ass bowl of the week. I don't know, the meme of, where it's all crossed out. That's my ass bowl game of the week right now. I'm not touching it. I don't know. I want to take Jameis here, but 7.5's a bit much. I know the Giants are bound to get frisky at some point to have a good game out of Danny Dimes, so I just don't want to touch it.
Yeah, I hate this game just because I can't seem to get either of these teams right this year. Besides week 1, I had the Saints right against the Packers, but that's really been it for any of the weeks for these teams. The Giants, I thought they were a lock last week against the Falcons at home. I'm like, this is a defense that the Giants can just move the ball on, and they weren't even that bad. They just didn't really have any big plays. And it's just, I don't know how they're going to do it against a much better defense and a much better coach with the Saints and Sean Payton's defense. Danny Dimes, I took a shot on him last week. I said he's going to have, this is his big week. He's looked good in his first 2 games despite, a couple turnovers here. I think maybe he improves. Didn't show anything against the Falcons, and now you got to go into the Saints, play that defense, play Sean Payton. I hate laying 7 with the Saints because their offense is just so bland this year, but I think we're going to see Kamara have a big game against this Giants team. I think that's the way you beat them. You kind of do the checkdowns. That's kind of what the Falcons did. And if that's the case, I just don't see the Giants moving the ball enough on the Saints defense to cover a touchdown. So right now, I probably won't touch this game with any official plays, but if I had to pick, I'd pick the Saints.
Yeah, Saints money line maybe is some parlay fodder,
Yeah.
teasing it here or
Teaser.
there.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I like the Saints, but the Giants are going to win at some point. Danny Dimes
Right.
always pulls out that 350-yard passing game with some good rushing yards and an actually efficient game where he's not fumbling twice and throwing an interception or two. And then next game, I don't love it. I mean, I have a play I love in it. I know you love it. I hate these Titans. We got the Titans going against the Jets. I mean, I know I'm going to be taking the Titans minus 7.5. I'm pretty sure that number is going to start to dip in the next couple of days. I can see it closing at like Titans minus 9, honestly. They're going to be a favorite pick by the public this week. Is it a rat trap? Do we see Zach Wilson break out? Do we see good coaching out of Salah? I don't think so. I'm going to lay it down on the Titans, even though I hate them, even though they're terrible defense. They could have success against Zach Wilson. Julio, me and you both love him. We're both on his over this year. He's looked good. I like Julio in that offense just to do enough. I don't really have much to say on this other than I agree with the Titans line for once, and I'm going to take it. So that's either amazing or bad. We're going to find out.
Yeah, so this for me is kind of simple. I'm just going to fade the Jets until they show me not to. Yeah. And they haven't at all so far this year. They had that garbage time touchdown against the Panthers, but besides that, they really are not scoring. They have 6 points in the last 2 weeks. And yes, they're facing the softest defense that they will face of these first 4 weeks. But the Titans, Ryan Tannehill has been very, very bad this year, and they're still 2-1 with wins over the Colts and the Seahawks. This feels like even if the Jets defense plays a little better and Tannehill is still just looks like Miami Tannehill, the Titans are just going to run with Derrick Henry, and they're just going to run with Derrick Henry. They're going to dominate possession, and the Jets' offense is not an offense that can score quick. They barely can score at all. So I think the Titans are almost going to double them in possession this game. It's going to be a lot of running, and I just don't see the Jets being able to even score enough points to cover a number, even if it's over a touchdown or even if it closes around 10 points. So I'm not too concerned about this game. I know a lot of people are saying this feels like a trap game. Maybe this is the week, against a bad defense where Zach Wilson shows us something. But until I see it, I'm not going to believe it, MereKat. And I was never too high on Wilson coming into the year. I've never really been too high on the Jets quarterbacks in the past 5 years. So I think the Titans just run the ball down their throats with Henry all game. And I think it's going to be another blowout.
Yeah, I agree. It's more just Jets beating themselves than anything. And then the next game, I got a weird feeling you're going to try to talk me into a play here. I don't know why. I'm probably wrong. We got the Washington football team heading down to Atlanta, that beautiful, beautiful dome arena where they sell $2 beers and stuff. I want to go there so badly. They actually have properly priced concessions, but the downside is you have to watch Falcons football. The Falcons in this one are plus 1.5 to the football team, pretty even on the money line there, and over under set at 48. I mean, I don't really have a play on this game. I kind of like Washington. I have a weird feeling you like Atlanta. That's what I was referencing. I don't know why.
No.
But yeah, Atlanta invested a lot into this secondary, the area they probably need to improve the most other than quarterback, and they're still letting up over 300 yards passing through 3 games so far. Taylor Heineke's a bit of a spark plug. I mean, he's going to get the ball to his guys at times when he needs. He loves throwing it to Logan Thomas. Scary Terry. He can tear you up. He can catch the 5-yard slant and turn it into a 45-yard touchdown in the blink of an eye. So I kind of like Washington here, but another team like Atlanta, where they kind of remind me of New York, where they just turn it on sometimes. And they scare me in a close matchup like this, betting against them. It's one of those games where I feel like I should just stay away from and not touch, but I'm so drawn to bet on it.
Yeah, I am on the side of Washington for this week. And the big thing for me is their defense is allowing 440 yards per week right now. That can't continue. And maybe we have overreacted saying how good their defense was going to be this year, but it's not as bad as a bottom five defense. The Washington football's defense will improve, and the way to do it is against the Falcons, who will turn it over a lot. And their offense just really doesn't wow me. I mean, their number one running back right now is Cordarrelle Patterson. They're going to have to throw the ball, and I think Washington's going to get to Matt Ryan pretty consistently. On the other side of the ball, the Falcons just don't have anyone for their cornerbacks who can cover Terry one-on-one. I think that's where we're going to see Washington expose them, kind of like they did against the Giants on Thursday night 2 weeks ago, where they just peppered Terry with targets the whole time, and the Giants corners just didn't have an answer. I think that's how they move the ball, and I'm surprised this line is as close as it is. It's just basically a pick-em game, which kind of scares me because the Falcons burned me last week when they beat the Giants, but I don't know, man. I am trusting the Washington football defense to figure themselves out in these next couple weeks. It's a lot easier than playing the Bills, playing the Chargers, and they looked okay against the Chargers. I think I think they'll win this game by at least a score. The Falcons have not shown me really anything this year.
Yeah, Washington's like one of those teams I'm going to tease, to make them, a plus money spread in this type of situation. And I'll feel comfortable about, teasing at 6 points and getting Washington, nearly plus 4.5. I'm fine with that. I'll feel comfortable there. I agree it's going to be like a kind of a one-score game, but Washington comes out on top. It's just Atlanta gives me that weird feeling. I know Calvin Ridley and that offense has been dormant. One of my player props I was adamant about was the under on Calvin Ridley, but he's going to have a couple games this year where he wins the Falcons a game. And could it be this week? I mean, Washington's secondary showed how susceptible they were last week. That scares me a bit, but I know you've been dying to talk about this one, man. We got the Cardinals, the Rams, the battle of 2-3-0 teams, high-powered offenses, all the hype going into this one. And the Rams are minus 4.5-point favorites. Big money line at minus 225 and the total set of 54.5. I'm going to let you go off first. I got a couple things on it, but this is your game.
So this is the big thing for me. I'm a Rams fan, and I can't stand the Cardinals, so call it bias all you want. But Sean McVay is 8-0, 7-0-1 ATS in his career versus the Cardinals, winning by an average of 20 points per game. That he just dominates the Cardinals. He dominates Cliff, and I know the Cardinals have looked better this year. They have. They improved a little bit last year too. But they caught the Titans in week 1 on a really bad week. Tannehill was awful, and Chandler Jones just got to him 5 times. There was nothing they could do. Week 2, they beat the Vikings at home because the Vikings missed a 37-yarder. And then last week, they played the Jaguars, and they played fine against the Jaguars. I mean, that game was really never, in consideration for the Jags to win, but the Jags hung in a little longer than I thought. The Rams have had, pretty impressive wins, with the most impressive coming last week against the Buccaneers. Stafford has given the Rams a type of vertical attack, which they didn't really see with Goff, which I love. Deshaun Jackson got involved last week. But this, for me, is pretty simple. I think you're going to have Ramsey, shadow DeAndre Hopkins, and he was very good at shutting him down last week. I am going to lay the points with the Rams. You can call it bias all you want. But until the Cardinals show that they can play against Sean McVay, I'm just not going to fade them. I love the Rams this week, and I love them especially against the Cardinals because the Cardinals also are a team that just doesn't play well against great teams. 0-5 ATS against teams with a winning record in their last 5 games. I think the Rams really kind of show we are the best team in the NFC West this week. And you know what? If I'm wrong, then so be it. I'm going to have to hear all that the following week. But I'm trusting McVay. I'm trusting Stafford. I think the Cardinals will put up some points because the Rams defense has allowed a decent amount of yards this year. But until anything is shown otherwise, McVay dominates the Cardinals. That's it.
Let's go. You got me hyped up because I'm all over the Rams too. Yeah, all the against the spread stats and stuff like that aside, I mean, the Rams 3-0 is more impressive than the Cardinals. The Cardinals do have 2 good wins, but the Rams have just looked so dominant. Matt Stafford in that offense looks incredible. Looks like the MVP, and you thought he could be coming into this season. I mean, I'm so happy for a guy like Matt Stafford, honestly, and I'm going to keep betting with him this year. And this Rams team, they are the cream of the crop in this NFC right now. And I would love to see the Cardinals come out a little flat like they did against the Jaguars, and then try to mount the second half comeback against this team right now. It's a little bit of a big number at 4.5 for the matchup. It is, but the Cardinals defense is vulnerable in multiple spots. Kyler Murray is inconsistent in many ways, especially in the second half where this game is going to be won. So yeah, I'm laying it down on the Rams. Matt Stafford MVP, baby. Butter them up. They're on a roll. Let's keep it going. We got another good game too next. It's the Seahawks and the 49ers. Seahawks underdogs here, +3, plus 123 on the money line and over under set of 52. I mean, everybody knows I'm fading the 49ers every which way I can. I hammered Green Bay last week. I know it got a little close there at the end, but they came through. Vegas is high on the 49ers. The public is high on the 49ers. Everybody is high on these 49ers. And as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is their starting quarterback, I will continue to fade them. I don't trust them. I love Trey Lance. I like him. But even if Trey Lance comes in this week, he's a project guy. He's not going to be the guy right off the rip. Reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts, where you're going to need this guy to play in a competent offense for like a full season before he really gets up to the speed that he can reach. And, you know, the Seahawks 1-2 record, but they've looked good. Russell Wilson wins games. They always start a little. They either start really fast or really slow, and then it switches up after a 1-2 start. They're going to be getting it going. The 49ers, too, they're 2-1. They beat 2 bad teams. The one good team they faced, Green Bay, yeah, they made it close at the end, but I just think they're so overrated. I'm going to probably double play the Seahawks this week, spread money line.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that we're agreeing on all these games, but I'm right there with you, MereKat. I love the Seahawks as underdogs. Kyle Shanahan, 8-19-1 against the spread as a favorite, and Russell Wilson, 20-11-2 as a road underdog. Yep. I really like Russell Wilson to bounce back, and if you saw with the Seahawks the past 2 weeks against the Titans and the Vikings, it was just kind of a collapse in the second half in both games. They looked great out the gates, but kind of collapsed. I don't expect that to happen in a division rivalry game. And this is a huge game for the Seahawks. You do not want to fall to 1-3 and be 2 games behind everyone in the division, because if the 49ers win, they're 3-1. And then you have the Rams and Cardinals. It doesn't matter who loses. 3-1, still 2 games above the Seahawks. I think this is a huge game, and I think the Seahawks need this game more than the 49ers. 49ers are still trying to get fully healthy. Their running back room is a mess right now, and it's Russell Wilson versus Jimmy Garoppolo. And you're telling me right now, MereKat, everything else aside about these teams, Jimmy Garoppolo's favored versus Russell Wilson. Give me Russell Wilson as the dog every single time. Every time. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care what the teams are looking like. Just in a nutshell, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo's favored. I'm blind betting Russell Wilson every single time.
Yep. We're exactly on the same page on that front. I'm going to continue to fade the 49ers as long as the public thinks they're good. And then we go into the next matchup here. We have the Ravens versus the Broncos. A weird game from a betting standpoint. The Ravens away right now, +1. I mean, the money line is essentially even. Total set at 44.5. It's one of those games where you see the Broncos. You got Teddy Bridgewater, the king of covering, the king of spreads. And that defense has been incredible. But now some injuries starting to pile up, which seems to be a theme with the Broncos the past few years. I mean, you got Chubb now, you got Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, a few other guys that are important to this team are banged up, and you don't want to see that piling up. Ravens, I mean, you talk about banged up, they're banged up as well too, but you're seeing Lamar Jackson overcome adversity. And honestly, the more people are starting to like hate on Lamar, the more I'm starting to like him and appreciate him, because he finds ways to win games no matter what. He's just a baller. And in a game like this, where it's close and the Broncos really haven't established themselves, they're 3-0. I hate to say they haven't established themselves, but I don't.
No, you're right.
I'm not picking them to win the division. I'm not even sure they'll make the playoffs after a 3-0 start. Like, I'm not confident in that with this team yet. They still haven't showed me the
Right.
factor, the X factor to be a elite team in this league. But the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Harbaugh, they all have. So this close of a line, I got to take the Ravens.
I love the Ravens this week, MereKat, and I'll tell you why. First off, the Broncos have played arguably the three worst teams in the NFL. The Jets, the Jaguars, and the Giants, and they were able to beat them the way they want to play football games. Control the pace, let their defense just dominate the game, and just have a little chip, slow offense, control possession, and that's what they did in all three games. I think all three games went under the total. The Broncos covered in all three of those games. It's going to be a different story versus the Ravens. And everyone who is, surprised or shocked by last week, the Ravens against the Lions almost losing, don't overreact to that. The week before, the Ravens won their quote-unquote Super Bowl when they beat the Chiefs at home, and you knew it was going to be a come-down spot. Did I expect the Lions to be as close as it was? No, but I expected the Ravens to be a little rusty, to have that, come down from the big victory over the Chiefs, which they treat as almost like a playoff win. I think the Ravens get back on track this week. That was a scare game against the Lions. They survived by a 66-yard field goal. That's not going to happen again. I think they're going to come out and be prepared, and the Broncos are going to go from seeing the Giants, Jets, and Jaguars offense to a Lamar Jackson-led offense, which is a big jump. I don't think the Broncos are going to be ready. I think the Ravens get out of the gate early, get off to a nice little lead, and I don't think the Broncos have that type of explosiveness or even just the, I guess you would say, playmakers to get back in the game right away. I think the Ravens can control this game and win despite it being in Denver.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And then next up, we're nearing the end here. We got three more games to cover. We got a weird one. The Steelers versus the Packers.
Yeah.
The Packers finally getting a little respect from Vegas. Still a weird line with the Packers. -7 in this one against the Steelers, who, 1-2, you're seeing all the woes going on with them. Another low total at 45.5. I don't have much to say on this game, honestly. Ben Roethlisberger is a shell of himself. The offensive coordinator is terrible. The offensive line is terrible. The Packers, I think, can be a Super Bowl caliber team based off of that offense behind Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones. It just depends if Rodgers cares enough. But we've seen that the past few weeks. I think a big win over a team like the 49ers last week lights a little fire under their ass. I'm going to be teasing the Packers for sure, throwing their money line and stuff. But 7, I might take. I might talk myself into it by Sunday. They're finally getting the respect they deserve after a weird week one.
Yeah, this is a weird game for me because I don't really know what to think of the Steelers. They had that week 1 huge upset over the Bills, and then they lost 2 home games to the Raiders and the Bengals, where Ben looked horrible. He didn't even look good against the Bills, but Ben looked horrible. One play against the Bengals. They're down 2 scores, MereKat, with 3 minutes to go. It's 4th and 10. They're at the 15-yard line. And on a 4-man rush, Ben Roethlisberger just dumps it off to Najee Harris with 4 Bengals defenders on that side of the field. No blocking. Doesn't even look to throw it downfield. Mm-hmm. Ben just doesn't want to throw the ball downfield anymore. It's just little dump-off slant routes to Juju, Deontay, dump it off to Najee. And it's just, I guess you can move the ball a little bit on Green Bay for that, but in Lambeau, I really like Rodgers to kind of dominate Pittsburgh. I know they have a pretty good defense, have been pretty good so far, but Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career is basically defense proof. He'll put up points regardless of who the opponent is. I just can't trust my money on Ben Roethlisberger after watching him so far this year. That's the big difference to me. Do I love the Packers at a touchdown? No, not really. I don't know if I'm going to bet like the line in this game, but there's no shot in hell that I'm putting money on Ben Roethlisberger after seeing what he's been doing.
We need to be against each other one of these games at least. Maybe it's going to be this one. This is the premier Sunday Night Football matchup so many people are waiting to see. Brady versus Belichick with the Buccaneers heading into Foxborough. I mean, the Patriots +7 right now. Obviously underdogs with Mac Jones under center. Last week's performance. I mean, I like taking the Patriots up until last week. Now the Buccaneers, do they look incredible? I mean, no, but do they look like they can make a run to the Super Bowl again? Yeah, with Brady and Arians and that offense and the defense, quite frankly, if they're all humming in the same rhythm, they're going to be dangerous. 7 points is a big number, same as the last game, but I'm going to be laying the points on the Buccaneers. I'm a huge proponent of Tom Brady is greater than Bill Belichick. I mean, you saw it last year. The Patriots fucking sucked, and the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. I don't know what much more you need other than Brady coming into New England and laying his nutsack across Bill Belichick's face in that Patriots defense. I could see this one either being Buccaneers 41-13, or somehow Belichick does some sort of voodoo magic. But honestly, I'm not even scaring myself with that.
So there's a couple reasons I'm kind of scared off the Buccaneers. The first is this is the classic Sunday night football spot where everyone who lost money during the day games on Sunday, how are they going to want to make it back? MereKat, they're going to lay anything they got on Buccaneers -7, which will probably move over a touchdown by the time this closes that night. So that kind of terrifies me. Nobody is betting on the Patriots right now. No one you're talking to likes the Patriots. And the other thing that scares me, if there's one guy in this world who knows Brady more than himself, it's Bill Belichick. Belichick knows everything about the guy, so maybe he knows how to beat the guy. Yes, Brady has the upper hand right now, and I'm also in the group that it's Brady over Belichick. But we haven't seen Brady versus Belichick yet. Maybe Belichick, this is kind of almost like his prove-it game, right? This is where he throws out all the bells and whistles to stop Tom Brady. Do I think he can? I just think the Buccaneers team is too talented to let that happen, and I haven't seen enough out of this Patriots offense where they can even put points up against on the other side of the ball, not even with Brady being considered against the Bucs defense. But it is Belichick versus Brady. It's a great, spot game, but it's a game I'm absolutely waiting on, MereKat. I just don't know anyone right now who says, I like the Patriots. And the line feels short. Everyone looked at it when it came out, and we're like, this is a short line. Why wouldn't I bet the Bucs right around a touchdown? So I'm holding off on this. It just feels like such a big trap to me.
No, I agree. It feels like a trap, but I also feel like people are going to be like, it feels like a trap, or they're going to be the people that believe in Belichick. And there's just so much mental warfare going on trying to decide what to do on this game. I think I'm just going to play it simple and take the Buccaneers because that's what my gut is telling me. And the
classic don't overthink it game, right?
Exactly. This is the classic don't overthink it, where people are going to be overthinking it, finding any edge they can. And I think I'm just going to lay the points on the Buck and before the line moves, because you said this is going to be everybody's Sunday night bailout, and you know what? Those come through. It's not like a pure fade. It's not a pure fade the public type play where those do come through. But I just can't wait to watch it. And another game I can't wait. We got some good games this week.
This week's going to be fun. Yeah.
Monday Night Football, our last game we're talking about here. We'll get through it quick and wrap up for you guys. The Raiders going to face me and Stevie's beloved Chargers in LA. The Chargers -3.5, over under set at 52. I mean, buddy, I don't want to bet on this game because I want to just enjoy it without any outside forces impacting me, because I like the Raiders. I was high on them. I took them to make the playoffs this year. Their win total over. Derek Carr is a good quarterback. And you know what? They kind of deserve this 3-0 start, even though it has been the toughest road to get to 3-0 for them. They're doing enough. They look pretty good on defense. That front seven looks solid. The secondary looks improved. Derek Carr is good. Their running backs, they're getting decent production, I guess, and I love their wide receiver core. But the Chargers, me and you are obsessed with them. We've been over them a million times, Hartford all the time. 2-1 coming off of that Chiefs game. I mean, I just love Herbert with Staley. That offense is, that team is, I'm taking the Chargers. I know it, but I don't want to because I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's the classic, don't overthink this game. I think the line at -3.5 wants everyone to take the 3-0 Raiders. You get the points. You get over a field goal. The Raiders should make this close. The Raiders always seem to play well in primetime too, and they always do. But the Raiders have played 2 full overtime games so far this year. And the Chargers are a couple bad penalties away from a 3-0 start themselves in the Cowboys game. I love Justin Herbert. I loved him last year. I love him even more this year. And I know you like Derek Carr, but I think he's playing a little bit above his head right now. He's averaging over 400 yards a game. And
that's absurd, but yeah.
We've seen this story of the Derek Carr MVP talk before, and it kind of fizzles out. I like the Chargers to win this game, I think, by more than people expect. I think they're a better overall football team. I think Herbert's just getting the offense started. Mike Williams has looked like the wide receiver one. We haven't even seen like a huge Keenan Allen game, and I know that's coming.
Keenan being Keenan, too.
Yeah,
like he's just been solid.
Just been solid in the slot, getting his catches, getting the big plays when they need them. I think the Chargers win this game pretty handily, and I think it's a kind of trap game where everyone sees Raiders plus 3.5, like, oh, more than a field goal, undefeated. Raiders have played exciting football this year. They've looked good this year. I'm just going to go the other way. I'm going to trust Herbert to show, hey, we're the second best team in this division, if not the best team, because you know what? They beat the Chiefs. Why can't he think that?
No, 100%. I agree with you on all fronts there. I'm going to be on the Chargers. I want to get them before, honestly, we've been saying get on some of these teams before the line goes against them. You brought up people are going to like the Raiders in this. We might get the Chargers.
We might get it to
3. I mean, sorry.
Not
to 3. I might wait for it. I don't see that going 2-4 against them. So, and I don't give out totals. I kind of like the over in this one. I don't think the Raiders shit the bed, even though I like the Chargers. It's going to be a good game to watch. Incredible Monday Night Football. I hope. I can't wait for it. But that does it for us today. Me and Steve, some guy named Steve, we're going to be back to you this weekend. Don't worry. I know we were indecisive, guys. We just went through the board today. Don't worry. We're going to have all our legit plays this weekend for you, our locks of the week, all of it, because this week is incredible compared to last week, and we can't wait to dive in for you guys. But that does it for us today. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we get you some free money. Good night now.